50 years before that I had first heard the name Teilhard de Chardin, during my high school years at Saint Jean-Baptiste in Manhattan, where his startling teaching had begun to seep into our religious studies classes, thanks to the Sisters of the Congregation of Notre Dame. That teaching, only a decade before, and for decades and decades before, had been suppressed by his Jesuit superiors and by the Vatican, had been suppressed all through Teilhard's life in exile in China. The brilliance of this inspired man, this highly respected scientist, this faithful priest who died actually not far from where I first heard his name, on the Upper East Side. And yet, suppressed and exiled as he may have been all those decades, his word had gotten out. And the several years after his death on Easter Sunday, 1955, the works of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin found their way to print, and the sudden dramatic impact of this astonishing mind began to have its influence, reverberating around the planet, and nowhere so much as within that very church that, while having formed him, nevertheless refused him during his own lifetime. But we can see his mind prints all over the documents of the Second Vatican Council that accelerated a medieval church's attempt to catch up to the modern world, so it might do the one thing that Teilhard spent his entire life laboring to do, which was to evangelize the modern scientific world with a mature, evolved Christian gospel of the cosmic Christ. So in this retreat, as we labor to discover the divine milieu, whether or not we've actually had an encounter with Teilhard before, let us try to meet him as if for the first time, not so much as the great scientist or the great religious visionary, but actually as our personal spiritual master, our spiritual guide who really lived his whole life with you and me in mind. It moves me so much to realize that we were at the center of his concern all of those years as he was in exile. We were at the center of his evangelical concern because Teilhard desired so much to be the chaplain for those who love the world. He wanted to be the spiritual guide of the seekers of meaning, of the waverers within their faith, of those who would awaken to the divine milieu. So with beginners' minds, let us come to know him anew as a spiritual father, as a wise brother, as a soul friend and an aid and a guide, who would be at once our mentor, but also our model for how to evolve our spiritual understanding. Indeed, for how to evolve our human nature so that it might mature into its Christic potentials. And so Teilhard would, I think, invite us to become aware of our deepest intention during this retreat. We will see in his teaching in the Divine Milieu how very, very important awareness of intention, purification of intention is. So if we could take a moment now, and if we could let these hours and days of our walking with Teilhard awaken, invoke, evoke this sacred intention.